week's episode of the Blame Game. Playoffs are fully underway with our first couple of upsets this last week. TSM took down FlyQuest. CLG fought a surprisingly close series against Golden Guardians that went the full 5 games. 100 Thieves just barely took care of Team Liquid, and C9 made surprisingly quick work out of EG, and that last one I would argue is the biggest upset and going to be the focus of this week's episode. There was a lot of blame to go around for basically every player in EG, and I want to try something a little different this week in tackling this. Best of fives present a bit of an issue for this show where if I go topic by topic, sometimes I'm going to have to skip around through games, so this time I'm going to try to go game by game and then end with some conclusions that don't necessarily tie into any specific point, but just highlight where I think some of the blame lies throughout the series. Let me know if you like this approach better, and let's dig into it. Game 1 opens with EG getting a nice kill onto Jensen set up by JoJoPyun, and in the aftermath of the play, C9 think they have a timing window to rush the Rift Herald. EG decide to bring up their bot lane to contest, but it's way too slow, and combined with their ults still being down from the mid pick, EG have no way to win this fight. Not only do they get clapped, they also lose the Rift Herald, and Berserker gets solo farmed during this time since he just stayed bot lane. It's pretty much a disaster. This super accelerates the Camille, who gets an early Sunderer and is able to just dump all over Impact. He dies to a gank just before 15 minutes, and is later solo killed by Fudge again. I would argue that top lanes seem like the biggest individual 1v1 mismatch in the series. EG shouldn't be out of game yet though, because they do have a very good 5v5 team comp, even though Camille can 4-1 split push against it. But even in the late game, their team synergy is just completely off the mark. In a critical Baron dance, Vulcan and Inspired aren't on the same page and waste Yuumi ult. And even from there, the team has stalled the Baron, is in an okay position, but the pressure from the fed Camille makes EG fuck up their battle lines. A flanker needs to be marked by someone who can actually do something about them encroaching in the space. So early in the dance, that's JoJoPyun who can poke over the wall at Fudge. For some reason though, Impact decides that he should try and mark him and abandons frontlining down the river to go wrap into the jungle. With the Yuumi ult down, this gives Blabber a pretty free angle to engage on JoJo, who's trying to force out the people from the jungle. Surprisingly, EG abandon blue side after this and start playing on red side, and game 2 is going to be a battle of junglers, but really only Blabber's plays are working. I think Inspired is waiting here for Blabber to show top as Fudge extends in the lane, but Blabber actually just turns mid for first blood, and the half-hearted look top afterwards doesn't come close to working. Inspired tries to even the mid lane out at 8 minutes in and gets Jensen's flash, but Blabber repeat ganks right after and gets the second kill onto JoJo. They then both go mid 11 minutes in to no real advantage for either of them, and then go bot soon after together. Inspired shows up to the gank first, but it gets turned on EG because they split focus. Vulcan angles the Yuumi ult at the low HP Berserker, but Inspired wants to target the no flash Renata, which forces Vulcan onto Inspired to land his ultimate. Realistically, I think they should just target Berserker, but Renata ult is scary, so I can understand Inspired wanting to blow her up through a chain CC combo before she can ult, but that also means that Berserker doesn't need to play this one defensively. Either way, the split focus allows Cloud9 to pretty easily kite out and turn the fight around in their favor. This came after a laning phase where Danny had a pretty terrible shift in on Ezreal and gets chased down by Berserker. In the mid game, C9 are pretty hit or miss in their playmaking. They have a couple of ints trying to chase down Danny in the mid lane. Fortunately for them, Fudge Factor's still cooking up in the top side of the map. He gets a solo kill in the matchup, which gives C9 a pretty strong power point to play 1-3-1 against the EG teamfight comp, but their late game is still hit or miss, where they win some teamfights by outplaying the EG members and baiting Danny in, but then they also overstay towards the tail end of the play and give a Baron to EG, which catapults them back into the game. The game winner comes 34 minutes in when Cloud9 is showing on the bot side of the map, clearing some vision. Blabber goes for a very clever cross through the mid lane to move into the top side of the map, and EG takes the usually safe but now unsafe path back to mid lane, giving Blabber a huge flank that wins them the game. You can argue that EG should have taken the longer and safer path back through mid lane, but realistically, not many teams are going to be expecting that angle from Blabber. Game 3 is the I understand now why Inspired is flaming JoJoPyun in his loser interview game. JoJo misses Trundle on this ward, I think, to give first blood over again. People thought JoJo might have miscalculated his mana for Q, but he uses it on the wave, which is the prompt that C9 needs to even go for the play. Either he saw the Trundle and assumed he could outplay, or he just missed it completely. In this team fight, JoJo tunnels on finishing off the Trundle instead of fighting front to back. In this pre-fight setup, the team clearly calls to wrap around through blue to enter the river to play front to back, but Jojo tunnels on chip damage over the wall. It would have lost them the fight if Danny didn't save the game for them with this ultimate. The next team fight, Jojo whiffs his ultimate on the entire enemy team and only survives thanks to Senna Seraphine and once again, Danny. And finally, 37 minutes in, Jojo Pyun finally plays a team fight well. That makes game 4 the Inspired is Now Tilted game, and to be fair, he plays a lot of it well, but it's in the big noticeable moments that he makes critical mistakes. This smite is just lazy and has been rightly dissected by the community already, and it's the same thing for his soul point smite. I'm not really sure what possesses him to smite there other than reflex and maybe wanting HP, but it's totally a misprioritization if that's the case. His actual team fighting though was decent throughout the game, like this flank which borderline saves the game for EG and gives them the gold lead. However, it's also a weird greed by Inspired that ends up costing them the Baron. Fudge spots him on the bot side of the map and pings him out, which prompts C9 to eventually start the Baron. And meanwhile, Inspired for some reason has just started doing Gromp. C9 realizes that he is so far away that they can just burn it down, and EG looks so frustrated in the aftermath that they just sprint into them hoping to somehow win a miraculous fight. So, after 4 games, let's assess the blame. Inspired was pretty hit or miss over the series, but with more misses than hits, especially in games 1 and 4. Jojo was pretty ineffective for the majority of the series and had one horrible game, which, funnily enough, EG actually won that one. Vulcan was lacking his typical monstrous engages and roam plays because he was strapped to Yuumi and Senna for 3 of the 4 games, which was pretty overwhelming looking on its own right. There's a case to be made that Impact was the biggest individual liability in this series, losing lane most games, getting solo killed in 2 separate ones, giving up side lane pressure, as well as being maybe the reason that EG started opting into red side in the first place, abandoning blue side, which I think most people seem to think is the stronger side on the patch. Even if he didn't always get counterpicked, they did start spending more draft resources to protect him or set him up for counterpick. The only person I would really disagree with the community on is Danny. I think Berserker outperformed over the course of the series, absolutely, but I disagree with that by definition, meaning that Danny had a bad series as well. And I definitely disagree with some of the sentiment starting to show up that he's overrated. The Ezreal game was a struggle for sure and had a lot of individual misplays, but he also did carry some fights. But his Seraphine game basically single-handedly won them the only game that they won this series. In both Sivir games, I would say he was actually quite good in the mid to late game and sometimes even in lane phase. In game 1, they actually dumpstered Zen so hard in lane that he was forced out of lane multiple times. It's just hard to be a teamfight AD carry when your frontline and solo laners are having so many issues. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this episode of The Blame Game. Thank you all so much for watching. We're starting up again on Thursday already. That's gonna be tomorrow, assuming this episode comes out on time. I have actually no clue what the Thursday match is, but I'm sure it's going to be hype. Anyways, bye.
You might not know, but I'm going to be traveling a lot soon. I haven't announced yet officially what I'm doing for Worlds and Summer Finals and other things, but there's a lot of travel coming up, and I would really appreciate your support by doing 1 or 2 or 3 of the following things. Subscribing to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Also, maybe purchasing something through alienware.com/Travis. That's always very helpful because some of that revenue comes back to TGI. And then also, Hi is here. And also, you can become a member of the YouTube channel if you want to see some content early. It's an experiment we're doing. Let me know.